Hi guys, today we are going to tie a version of Mark Engler's Pike Fly. I've been working on this a little bit lately. We've been fishing that Engler Fly for a long time and it works really good, and it's a great fly for most of our area waters. Just wanted something a little more bulk, and maybe could push some water in some different situations where you know, having, especially like, dirty water, where having a little more profile is not a bad thing, but without adding weight to the fly. And I've always kind of tied some hollow style flies for stripers in New England, so I wanted to kind of incorporate that into that style into a pike fly, that's similar to what we use already. So kind of what we came up with. It's a hollow tied bucktail and Icelandic sheep combination. So here we go. All right, so we're going to start with some white Icelandic sheep, at least for this color, or whatever color you prefer. I'm going to cut that off the hide, and I'm going to remove the under fur from the sheep hair. So just kind of want those nice longer fibers in there. Let's get some thread on there. And for thread, we're using flat wax nylon. It's a 210 denier Danville thread. So we're going to tie in this white Icelandic sheep. And tie that down. That's long enough. I kind of want that fly, like in between like 7 to 10 inches long. It was plenty, but trying to get a little more bulk out of this fly is the idea between this and your traditional angler fly. Add a little bit of flash in here. Just a couple strands of pearl flashaboo. Don't go crazy on the flash. I don't like a ton of flash in my pike flies, but having some is a good idea. Fold that back just so it doesn't get ripped out as easy. Anything you can do to make these pike flies a little more durables, never a bad idea. We're going to go forward just a little bit here from our back tie-in point. And first we are going to take some bucktail, white bucktail, and we are going to make a spin around the hook shank. Now, don't need a lot of it, just want enough to really cover, again, remove any, under fur out of this bucktail. Those real short fibers. Alright, so I'm going to take this bucktail. We're going to face the tips forward on the hook shank. And we're going to make a loose wrap, 2 loose wraps, and now we're going to kind of push that bucktail and start to tighten that thread. Make one more wrap, and we kind of push on all sides so we get a nice even distribution of the bucktail around the shank of the hook, 360 degrees. Wrap back to secure. And then we're going to cut these butts out. Doesn't have to be perfect, but definitely want to cut most of it out. Otherwise the fly will get a little too bulky. Oops. Alright. So the next step is going to be to get this bucktail to flare. You can either push it back, you can use a pen if you take the center part out of it. Usually I just, you kind of, if you got the right bucktail, it'll want to flare. So you can just kind of make sure you got it around the whole hook shank. And then push it back, jump your thread in front of it. And now the key with any hollow tie is we don't really want to wrap back over those materials, over that bucktail. We are just going to create a thread dam in front of it. And you kind of want to try to keep those straps as even front to back and side to side as you can. And there we go. There's our first spin of deer hair. And just light, don't need a lot of it, just enough to kind of cover the hook shank. I'll take more white here on this spin. And again, we don't need a lot of this sheep. We want just enough to veil over that bucktail. And cut it off. I'm going to pull the under fur out. You can save this stuff. It's good for smaller flies, little baitfish patterns and stuff. Makes a decent little dubbing. So we're going to do the same thing with this, with the sheep, is we're going to kind of spread it out and we're going to tie it facing forward. And we're going to kind of tie that bunch in facing forward. A couple wraps on there, a couple kind of spins, work it around. Want it to kind of spread itself out around the hook shank, 360 degrees. Wrap back to tie it down. Back forward. We're going to cut some of this butt material out of here. If you leave some, don't worry, it's not a huge problem. Now, same thing. This is a little harder because it doesn't quite want to flare like bucktail naturally wants to go and flare out. But I'm going to just pick it apart. Make sure you got it all the way around the hook shank. Kind of work it back. Same thing, don't really want to wrap over it. Thread dam. Over itself. And just kind of, stuff will get kind of caught up sometimes. You just kind of want to make sure you're got a good 360 degrees of the hook shank. Looks pretty good. Now we're going to advance our thread just a little bit here. And we're going to do another white spin of deer hair. Generally, for doing this, you kind of want some deer hair kind of out of the middle to bottom third of your bucktail. It's where that best kind of flaring hair that's not too hollow, not too coarse either. So a couple loose wraps. Pinch that bucktail on all sides, trying to get it to disperse around the hook. Got those butts pretty short in that one, so same thing. We're going to kind of get it to flare here. Advance our thread in the front. Start building up our little thread dam. Okay, good. We're going to change up our colors. We're going to go with a little pink. Kind of do like a rainbow trout coloration here. Don't want a ton of this color because I'm going to go over it with another darker color. But here we go. Again, pull out our under fur. Save that for later. Same thing, make sure we're pushing on all sides, spreading that material out around the circumference of the hook shank. Tie down, cut out some of these butts here. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but get some out. Now we want to go repeat our steps from earlier where we're flaring our sheep hair around the shank, the hook. That looks pretty good. Get it around that thread. Thread dam. You'll notice as you build up that thread dam, it wants to kind of slip forward if you put too much pressure on it. So kind of some loose wraps to build it up is always good, and then wrap back over it to kind of secure it. Okay. We got our little bit of pink in there, kind of that midsection on a rainbow. It's got that nice pink stripe to it, and now we're going to go some olive over the top and the back of a rainbow. It tends to have some olive in it, so we'll go with that. This sheep hair is very highly variable based on where it comes from on the critter, so you got to really definitely pick through your pieces when you're selecting at the shop. We'll see how this. Okay, I want this to be a little thicker, this spin. be thicker but shorter. Make sure we're spread out around the hook here. And wrap back again. Build up our nice thread head. This one we'll want to build up a little more of a dam in front of this last spin just to kind of keep everything trying to even out my thread wraps here a little bit. There we go. Okay, now we're just going to kind of taper our thread down so it's nice and even. Throw a whip finish in there. Sheep hair in there, but all right, double whip finish. A little bit of UV cure head cement. Can't find the tip for this, but we'll just dab a little bit on there. Our head doesn't come undone. Blue and UV nanolight and just some flow. And we're all set. That's it, the hollow tied Engler Pike Fly. So one other thing to mention with hollow flies is if you tie your fly and maybe it's a little too bulky or a little too unruly looking, sometimes the deer hairs just flares too much, you get too much on there, you can always shape these flies by taking a paper clip through the eye and holding it under warm water or fairly warm water underneath your sink, hanging it vertically and letting that bucktail be depressed by that warm water and slicking back, and then letting it dry. I don't like to put it in the window. You want it to dry slowly, so somewhere over time where it can, and it'll hold that shape once it's dry as well. So if it's a little too big or a little too bulky, you can always run it under some warm water and get it to slick back a little bit and take a little more of that teardrop shape that you see here.